Hey everyone, it's Tiffany Cherie, and today I'm going to be telling a few more stories about some experiences I had while working at the adult store many years ago when I lived in Australia. So while I'm not going to be too explicit, I will just say a warning, this is probably for mature audiences only. If you haven't seen my previous video, I'm going to go ahead and link it in the description below. But basically I talk about the one night where I had my epiphany as to why I wanted to quit. But many of you requested some other stories, so we're going to talk today about the wankers in the store. So probably one of the biggest annoyances at the store was people who didn't treat it as an actual retail environment. Like I said, we did have a cinema in 2 locations, as I mentioned in those previous video, but like people I think would come in and something was either wrong with them mentally or I don't know. I don't know what was wrong with these people. Something was wrong with them. Because we would always say it's a retail environment. That's why we call it an adult store, because we didn't sell sex. Like, we didn't hire people who were just like, oh, I really like sex. Like, we wanted someone with retail experience. We wanted people to be professional. So when I first started there, I was warned that obviously I'd be working alone most of the time, as most of us were. And it was bound to happen that someone would come in and either expose themselves or jerk off in the store. And when that happened, you were to ensure that you wrote down the time, the description, so we could ban them because we had security cameras in the store. So we would usually go back and try to find a picture of them to like put them in this book of people who were banned from our stores, like banned for life. I don't know why the first time I encountered a wanker in the store, like I didn't know what to do. I froze up and I really regret that. I was telling myself like, this isn't happening. Like this can't be happening. Seriously? But then as I've learned in life, as the years have passed on, that people are messed up and people will do some messed up things. So basically I was standing at the counter and there was this guy who was looking at the, we call them gondolas. They were like little sections where we had merchandise hanging on either side. And he was kind of in a squat position. And looking back, I probably should have realized it was a bit odd that he was wearing shorts and like a coat, like a long coat. Anyway, so he was squatting down like in the squat position. And so I was standing here and he was like sideways to me. And I noticed that it looked like he was scratching his leg. Like in my head, I was like, oh, he's scratching his leg. And then he kept scratching his leg and it just wouldn't stop. And I was like, oh my God. It's happening. Like, it's happening. What do I do? What do I do? But again, I was in denial and I was like, sir, are you okay? Do you need any help with anything? Do you need any help finding anything? Like a dumb person. I should have screamed at him. But again, I was like, maybe he's not. Maybe I don't want to assume that he's jerking off in the store and I don't want to be rude. From this instance on, I was like, screw being rude. I would rather be perceived as being rude by accident than like let someone get away with disrespecting me and the store like that. So he didn't reply to me. He just kept scratching his leg. And then finally I was like, okay, no, this is real. Like he's not responding to me. He's not scratching his leg. Like I need to say something. So I got a little bit angry and I was like, sir. And he got up, he didn't even look at me, and he just walked out like abruptly. Needless to say, I was really disappointed with how I handled that situation, but at the very least we got the timestamp of when he was in the store so we could ban him and keep an eye out for him, I guess. So the second time it happened, I was prepared. There was a guy who had come in and he went all the way to the corner of the store and I was standing up next to the cash register, like at the front counter. And we had those cameras and there was a screen that we could look at so that if we were up front, we could see what was going on in the rest of the store. So this guy had gone straight to the back corner, ignored me when I was like, hi, welcome to blah, blah, blah. Is there anything I can help you find? That's another sign as well that you know someone's like, you learn whether someone's just shy or if they're like up to no good, if they just straight up ignore you. Like, I see you, respond to me. So sure enough, he pulled down his shorts and just started doing that in front of the DVDs. So I stayed where I was and I screamed at the top of my lungs from across the store. I don't even remember what exactly I said. I definitely cursed a lot. I told him to F off. I was like, what the F are you doing? Like, you sick wanker, like blah, blah, blah. To the point where like as soon as I started yelling, he knew I was talking about him, even though there were other customers in the store. And he ran so quickly out of the store. He reminded me of like a little scared rabbit. He just like zoomed out of the store to the point where he couldn't even like pull his shorts back up. Like I remember seeing his butt crack like as he just flew by. He did try to come into one of our other locations, but of course, because those of us who worked in one location worked at the other, we recognized him straight away and we're like, nah, you're banned, and you know why. The third time wasn't really a wanker per se, but it was someone who exposed themselves. So it was a very elderly man, like really elderly, and he came in and he wanted to look at the, see, I don't know what I can and can't say, but he wanted to look at the rings for yourself, if that makes sense. I don't know. And so I showed him the section that we had. I said, these are the rings that we have. These are the types of rings that we have. If you want me to, you know, tell you more about one, this is what we have. And he was like, oh, but I'm looking for one that's a flower. And I was like, we don't have anything like that. Like, this is what we have. Like, I'm not trying to be a rude salesperson, but like what you see is all that we have. So that was me mentally. I was like kind of getting a bit frustrated because he kept saying over and over again, like, I want a flower. I want one that looks like a flower, that looks like a daisy. And I was like, well, we don't have that. And I just kept telling him politely and as nicely as possible, like, well, this is what we have. So if you need any more help, just let me know. And I was about to walk away. And he goes, well, I'm looking for something like this. And he pulls up his shirt and pulls down his shorts and exposes himself. And all I see is like these like flower petals and, you know, him. I was just like, Jesus Christ. And I just started yelling right in front of his face. I was like, F off, like that's messed up, like get the F out of here. And he was smiling, he was laughing, like he knew exactly what he was doing. Like if you're into voyeurism and exhibitionism, there are places for that. There are clubs that are specifically tailored to that. Like, I don't understand. There was even the cinema, like if you wanted to go there. But I knew that wasn't their purpose. Their purpose was to, you know, be gross to us innocent people who are working there. Anyway, so he also ran out of the store and never saw him again. The fourth time that someone exposed themselves in the store in front of me was kind of like a prank. Like it was still inappropriate because again, it was a retail environment. Like you wouldn't go into Target and do that. It was a group of young guys. They were getting ready to go out clubbing. Like I said, the two locations were right in the middle of different areas of the city. It was almost time to close up. Me and my friends were actually getting ready to go out dancing afterwards. So these guys were over at the glass cabinets. We had some cabinets that were locked because they had a lot of the stainless steel products and more of the intense products, things that you didn't want people messing with and things that you wanted to be very secure about. A lot of the paraphernalia, I guess, and other like rings and cages and sounding equipment. And if you don't know what that is, I don't know if I'm allowed to tell you. So I had to ring a customer up, so I walked away from this group of guys. I rang the customer up, they went about their way. I walked back over because they were like, hey, we got a question about this. So it was a long rectangular cabinet and I went to one corner of it and they were kind of scattered around. And there was a guy who was standing in the middle and he said, what's that? He was pointing and he was like, what's that? And I said, well, that's a cage. And he goes, well, what's that? And I was like, well, that's a ring with spikes on it. And then he goes, well, what's this? And he points directly underneath him and I look and he had put himself on the counter. As soon as I realized, like I was like, those are genitals. And so I turned around and I was like, that's not funny, you guys need to get out. I wasn't going crazy cursing them out, but I did tell them to leave. Like I knew in my heart that I couldn't let them see me laugh because like then all respect would just like go out the window. All authority would just be gone. So I was just like, just get out, just leave. Like, okay, you got me, like just go. The ironic part is that our friends, we actually ran into them as we were out like going from club to club and like dancing. We saw them in the street. We were walking by and I was like, hey, you're a jerk. It's like, yes, just because we work in this store doesn't mean we're not real people. Like we have real lives and we deserve respect. Anyways, guys, that's everything for my story time today. I hope that you enjoyed. If you want to hear more stories from the adult store, go ahead and leave me a comment below. I would love to know what you guys want to hear. Please go ahead and subscribe and like because it would mean so much to me. And wherever you are in the world, I hope you're having a beautiful day. Bye.